Hey everybody, it's Vallen from Mischief of Mice, here with a getting started video on the new mod by Emoniph, Intangible. As a time-saving tip, I recommend that you can actually share soul relays between soul cages, or bone cages, and I even labeled it so that I knew which one was which, and therefore I won't have to constantly keep on switching them out whenever I'm done with each of the sets. So, with the exception of this, I just did this so that for demonstration purposes, therefore I can feed some more souls in here for showing you guys, but it would have to be close to there, and I can always dump off my excess souls from the nether back into my soul well, just like this. But moving on, we need to make ourselves some Soulbone Armor. To do so, we're going to need a bunch of benign stone and one malleable stone. Now, we made benign stone in the past. How to make malleable? Well, it's the same way, it's just a different subject. So you end up taking the creature that will have a malleable soul, and you end up donating that in case. So in this case, you would want the your little pigman friend to go in on one of these, which you may end up needing to move to the nether at least for once, just so that you can get some malleable stone and doing so. But I'm not going to be doing that since I have creative menu options, and I'm just here to show you guys. On top of that, we'll end up putting a whole bunch of plinths, plus a soul forge powered all by redstone signal. So I'm going to get that set up, and I'll be right back. Alright, here I have a basic setup. It's going to be close to my soul well so that I have no issues, because your soul forge is going to need to pull power from your soul well in order to make this run. So a soul forge is, whoops, I hit the wrong button there, a simple recipe of an emitter, quantifier, a couple of control circuits, and 3 more soul relays. Like I said, we're going to need lots of these soul relays one way or another. So I'm going to put it nearby, but before I do, I'm going to put a redstone signal there, because it does need power. Alright, and you can see that starts warming up, and it's not actually going to do anything until the units that it's going to transfer soul power into is ready. Alright, so plinths. Plinths are made with simply just some stone and some stone rings, and you get 3 of them. So it's quite a value, and they look really nice. You can actually display items on them, just by clicking on there, and you can put up to a stack's worth in there, and then just take an empty hand to take the items back. Pretty new, pretty cool actually. I do like it quite a bit. It's nice for displaying things on. It does kind of miniaturize them, but anyway. All these plinths are in a circle around on top of benign stones. Plus, we're going to put down a malleable stone here in the center. And it's going to be powered, but I'm going to power it with a lever this time, because I'm going to want to be able to turn this on and off when I am ready. Put down another plinth on top of that, and then you can start crafting things. Now, what kinds of things can you craft? Well, there's a whole lot. Let me get myself some soul bones here. And we're going to get some, not gems, we want crystals. And I can actually show you a simple recipe that, oops, that was a mistake, is here. Let me get that back. Come here, you. And we can make ourselves a few items. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is actually a valid recipe. Let's turn this on. And actually it's not, oh no, there it is working. Alright, it took all the ingredients, and you'll see it actually has these little particle effects where it jumps everything into the center, and then when it's done, you end up getting your created item. In this case, crystallized soul bones, which we are going to end up needing these to make ourselves some soulbone armor. So, let's look into that, find out exactly what we need to make, one piece at a time. So, we've made that. It does detail a lot about how you can end up creating it, plus how to personalize your armor, which we'll get into shortly. But first, let's actually get into constructing the helmet itself, and then we'll move on to the others. So as you can see here, we need soulbone armor, or crystallized soulbone, excuse me, soulbone conduits, circuits, and blue crystal. And where you put these in the circle does and doesn't matter. So to give an example, these crystallized soul bones, they will need to be across from each other, like in some way, shape, or form. Now, they don't have to be on these 4 axes. They can be diagonal instead, as long as they are on the 4 corners from each other. Then you need to put the rest in the similar order. So like the conduits here, let's get some of those. Grab a couple. They will need to be across from each other. So I can't have them here and here. It would have to be there and there. So here we are. And then we need to get ourselves a circuit and a crystal. So, and we put those at opposite sides from each other. And it's already got a redstone signal, so it's actually going to just go right ahead and start the ritual of creating the helmet, which, there we go. We've got ourselves a helmet. But if you notice here, it also requires an unhinged and a wise soul. It consumes souls to make these items. So I now have a little bit less of those soul types in my soul forge. But I now have a helmet, which will make me look like a certain Batman villain. But let's get on to the next piece of armor, and we can continue. Here we have some Soulbone Leggings. Those require a benign and 2 predatory, which I should have in here. Yeah, I've got 3 benign and 4 predatory. We should be good to go. So let me just flick the switch, and all the contents are taken in, and it will then start using those to make it. There we go. Pair of leggings. Alright, and as you can see here, benign soul down to 2, predatory down to 2. So it's consuming some souls. I'm going to have to get more before we're done here. Next, let's get into the boots. As you can see here, 2 benign souls, and that's what's required to make these boots. I've already got them set up with some conduits, crystallized soulbone circuit, and we should be good to go. Let me go flick that lever. There we are. And let's get into the armor, or the chest piece, I should say. You may be thinking at this point, well, Vallen, there actually isn't a chest plate on here. There's no option for a second page. That's because we actually have to do one more discovery, and that is the discovery of an iron golem gives. So, let's see. Oops, I have one over here, and we're going to end up playing a little discovery game here, and once it's figured out, then we'll end up having another one, but it'll have a special circumstance. Let me show you. So let's see if this actually does it. And there we go, discovery of the immutable soul. But you notice, no soul jumped out the end. Well, before I tell you about that, I should mention the easiest way to get yourself an iron golem is probably, if you don't have any villages nearby, is to make yourself one with 4 blocks of iron and a pumpkin head, and then get yourself some, oh, I don't have any on me, get a leash or a lead, and take him over to your area, because luckily these guys do end up allowing you to lead them around, which makes it a lot easier. Otherwise they tend to run straight for the center of the nearest village if there's one nearby. But with that said, we're able to move on, and at least the discovery has allowed us to progress, but there's more reasons for what we'll need to do with this guy a little bit later. Now, here's the other funny thing, is that if I let him out, he's still fine. Well, if anything, that's because we did not end up taking the soul out of him. So, I'll be back in just a moment. And there you have it, Soulbone chestplate, right where it should be. So, once you click on that, you'll see lots of crystallized soulbone, a control circuit, soulbone conduit, and you get yourself one of those, but it'll cost you a couple benign and 1 immutable soul. Ooh, immutable. Well, let's see, didn't we just discover an immutable? Why, yes, we did, and it's not in my pool here. Well, there are special ways that you can remove an iron golem's soul. What we're going to need to remove the soul from this iron golem is a synthetic resonator. Alright, let's go on over here to my crafting table, and we will assemble ourselves one. So we're going to need a quantifier, which is made with some emitters and control circuit, plus a yellow crystal, in, of course, a circuit stamper. And then we're also going to need a soul relay and a couple iron ingots and 3 crystallized soul bones. I think I got those backwards. There we go. Synthetic resonator. And then what you do with this is you shift click it on top of the bone cage, and there you go. And then when you right click, nothing happens. Reason being, you're going to need a little extra brute force in order to turn that. So we're going to need to make ourselves some golems, or at least one golem. So let's get into making that. Alright, so first and foremost, a couple of casings, soul relay, control circuit, soulbone conduits, and a piston makes a golem part assembler. Excellent. Alright, empty these back out. Then we're going to need a chest, a couple blocks of iron, 1 ponderance lattice, 1 control circuit, make ourselves a golem fabricator. So let's go put these near our iron golem friend here, and we're going to just put this right there. And then we have our golem fabricator, which actually, if you have a, there you go, in the top section it has just on the back side, I guess. If you end up right clicking the front, it doesn't do it. On the back, you can access its internal inventory. You can put things in, you can take things out. Essentially, as you create a golem and you pick things up with it, it will go to the golem's inventory. And then when you hook it back up to this, it will end up disembarking all of its inventory into the golem fabricator's inventory. So next, we'll need to put down the golem part assembler. Let's just plop that, let's put it over here. So let's take our golem part assembler here, place it down near our soul forge, because it will need to be powered, and as most things do in Intangible, need a redstone signal. You can, therefore, turn it on, and as you place items in it, let me grab some stone here, and this will be a good example of how it works. It's really kind of pretty. The animation that it does here, well, not really pretty, I just think it's pretty cool. But it will take a second for it to recognize the network that it's connected to, but then once it does, it should be good to go. Just to make sure, I'm going to reset it. And there we go. You can see that it has recognized itself in the network, turned around, closes in, compresses all the stone together to create a condensed stone plate. Well, there's lots of things you can do to make yourself a golem. If you go in here under your golems section, which is here, click on that, then you go to your part assembler, click on the parts. You have not 1 page, not 2 pages, 3 pages to choose from of all the different parts you can put on. Now you can't put them all on at the same time. For example, you've got 3 different head options here. An armored head, which obviously has more armor, a repair head, which will slowly repair itself, a suction head, which will automatically pick up nearby items even when you're not in it, so you have to be careful with that. So obviously you can only have 1 head on a golem at any given time. Now you can have multiple golems, there's no problem with that. Therefore you could have one that's battle ready, one that's mining ready, all sorts of stuff. But to give you an idea, let's start off with the core, which is going to be a quantifier, a golem thrust unit, a chest, and a condensed stone plate, which we've already made one of. So, how do we make that? We're going to need some furnaces, golem armored plate, control circuit, and a part assembler, and golem armored plate. Well, don't have one of those. A couple pieces of iron, a couple of condensed stone plates. So you can see it's just a series of basically building a lot of smaller parts to make a larger part. And once you have all the parts you need, you're able to combine them together on this station here, the Golem Fabricator, and make yourself a golem that's fully functional once you have all the parts together. So let me get making some of those, and we'll be right back. One of these, one of these, one of these, and one of those. And that should make ourselves a golem core. Don't do like I did and end up just putting them on the sides willy-nilly. You have to make sure that you have them in the right order, or else it's not going to work. There we go. And if you look here, Malleable 4 of 5. Now it doesn't actually use up the Malleable Soul, but it uses it as a worker in order to power this device. So make sure you've got at least one in the system, and you should be good to go. Now I have my Golem core. And my first completed part, a Golem armored body. Excellent. So now what I can do is take this and plop it right over here. And you see I now have a floating giant chest on the, and I don't mean chest as in inventory, I mean as in a Golem's chest. Let's get into the next part where I make some legs and some arms. There we go. I've got one candle leg, I've got a leap leg, claw arm, and a hammer arm. Alright, all that's left is the head. I've chosen the suction head, if anything, just so that I can show you guys how you might be losing some items if it's a little too close to your golem. Now you'll notice there's a trail of potatoes right now. Well, they're not going to do anything until you first take him out of this golem fabricator. Once it's unhooked, then his suction will actually be constant. So even if you're not possessing the golem, which you will, then you need to keep in mind that there's a constant small suction field around him if he's not hooked up into this fabricator. So next, let's get into how to end up getting into this guy so that we can get this open. So remember those malleable souls that we were able to get from the transforming the pigmen over here? After we transformed them and sucked the souls out of them? Well, you're going to need 3 of those at least in order to get this to work. So now that I have that in place, I actually can cast a new spell. There are actually a lot of spells that I should be able to cast. This one here. Now you notice I don't actually have my armor on, though it does say so in the tooltips. I am now intangible. Allow me to show you. I am this little floating spirit. And it's pretty cool because if I hold on a second here. There we go. If I double tap the space key or the jump button, I can actually fly around freely. Actually, let me change the time today here. And you can actually see that I fly around pretty good. But there is some slight problems. One is I can't interact with the world except for my own body or others that I want to possess. So, to give an example, I see a volunteer. There's a sheep. So, if I right-click on him, I am now a sheep. And I can control him, walk around, do a little tiny jump. And you can see that I've got like my little soul is like kind of little glowy bits going on there. Actually, you don't see it if I turn off the HUD. But so I can actually run around. It's not like I can attack anybody because I'm a sheep. But it's pretty interesting. And if I just stay still, the sheep will do its own thing, as if I wasn't even there. And it will start walking around, eating grass, whatever. See, I'm not moving it right now. It's doing it by itself. Now, you can actually left shift to dismount, just like you would for a horse. You can do this with other beings as well. Alright, villager, I'm tired of you running away. I need you to come back here so I can absorb your soul. You can do things like that. You know, it's really, really handy. On top of that, your body becomes invincible except to, well, creative mode play. So let's back out of this here and get into my view. Proper view. There we go. Hi. So if you break yourself in creative mode, you're in a bad way. But there is a way to actually recreate your body through special commands, as well as there are ways of duplicating your body so that you can have backups should you end up dying. It's pretty neat. Now, what I'm going to do here, instead of going back into my body, I am going to show you that you can actually teleport to it. So I'm going to go a really good distance away here, and you can see this little icon that I'm highlighting now has been showing up on the screen, just kind of floating around. That's where my home body is. Now, by directing at it so it gets big, and then right-clicking, I will end up teleporting directly to it. Now, if I'm a good enough distance away, I was actually expecting to be much further away than that when I did that. So let me go a really good distance here. And then I'm going to turn around and click on it. You can see I can't even see my body at this point, but I still have that icon to tell me where it is. Right click, and sometimes you'll get the animation where you jump up into the sky and back down again. This time I did not, but it doesn't actually put you in your body, it just puts you at the location of it. So you have the option of actually right clicking and taking your body back, or you can just continue flying around. Now in this case, I'm going to jump into our Golem friend. And once he's out of that fabricator, there we go. I am now a really cool looking little Golem guy. How you doing? Now this guy here, I gave him leap legs so he can actually jump. He has kind of like a double jump effect. Here, let me show you here. So I jump once, jump twice. Pretty cool. And I do have in my inventory, I believe I've got some torches. So in the dark, the candle leg, let me stop doing that, will actually automatically place torches from my inventory. And it's that or the inventory of the Golem, I can't remember which. It will automatically place torches as I progress through caves, tunnels, and stuff like that when the light level is too low. So it's really good for mining. Now I also have a hammer and a claw. Now if I actually use the claw on the ground, you can see it's excellent for digging in dirt. The claw, not so much, but it will destroy a large portion of very difficult to destroy materials. Let's see here. So there we go. I am now down 2 blocks. You'd think, well, I can just jump out. There we go. And I'm out. And you actually have kind of a step assist for 1 block high stuff. So it's, you know, very easy for you to manage to get around. So that's the basics of that. But the idea is, I have my claw here, and I'm going to use it on the synthetic resonator. There you go. Now there are tons and tons of options for the Golem. We're not going to get into that today. I was just showing you kind of the basic stuff here. You can have like turrets on it for a second player. You can have well, I'll just not get into it today, but there we go. We turned that, and it is constantly spinning. That's all we really needed to do. So I'm just going to go over here, right-click on the Golem Fabricator. Any inventory I had from picking up items, like the dirt here and stuff, will end up going into the inventory panel. And there we go. And if I right-click on this panel, you can see there's 40 dirt right there. Pretty darn cool stuff. So you can use these guys for mining, and it's really cool. I do like it quite a bit. But that aside, we now have this in place so that we can suck the soul out of the Iron Golem. And there we have it. And it is now in here. Immutable. 1 of 1. It's difficult to see because it's kind of a light color on a light color, but there you go. Immutable. 1 of 1. And with that in place, we're able to actually make our chest armor. So let's get into that. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 soulbone conduit, 1 control circuit, and there we go. Just a little bit of fancy particle effects going on. And we get ourselves the chest plate. So now you can see it's really impressive, cool looking stuff to be wearing this. And there are ways that you can actually enhance this as well. So let me show you a few of the items. And now so many things have opened up for us. I mean, you know, requires chest armor, and so on. But to give an idea, let's do some claws. Oh, wait. It didn't work because I didn't temper any of these yet. So let's get into armor tempering. So just as a quick note about armor, you can actually dye it to the color that you'd like. Now in this case, you've got your regular plus some red, ends up making it slightly more red. And if you look down here, I don't know if you can actually see the difference, but this is 1 red, 2 reds, 3 reds, and you can actually make it more and more red. Obviously there's going to be a point where it won't, but I believe that there's about 3 levels of each color that you can actually tinge it, and then you can actually you know, combine it with other colors and so on. So therefore I could actually have a let's see, a red chest plate instead of the default dark teal. So once again, you're going to want to make sure you've got a healthy supply of souls, because tempering an armor is actually a bit expensive, though it is a more permanent thing. So for instance, I have the Soulbone helmet recipe pulled up here. By clicking on that, actually here, let me go back a little. On the Soulbone armor, I'm choosing Soulbone helmet, and then the tempering option underneath. And it says here immutable, predatory, unhinged, and so on, for the different types of tempering that you can add in. Now you can do multiples of the same thing, it's just that you'll have to repeat it again. So for instance, let's do a couple benign, 2 regular fish and some salmon. So let's grab some, we're going to do 2 of those, and what was it, salmon I think? Yeah, a couple of those, and then of course the helmet. So 1, 2, you can actually put multiples, remember that, in here. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then I'm going to grab the helmet, which I'm wearing, and put that on here. And it takes all of the required ingredients. You notice now there's just 1 of each of these, and it will end up tempering that helmet with a benign soul. So it just used 1 up, and I get that helmet back. Now if you dye these, it will still keep the dye color as well. And I can just put it back over here, and it will temper it again with another benign soul. And if I hover over it, you can see it has 2 benign souls tempered into it, which means I can cast spells that require armor that also requires at least 1 or 2 benign souls in order for the casting to work, which is not too many of these, but I mean, for an example, repair. Now my armor has not been damaged, so allow me to get some spiders in here, spawn a couple of those, and I will anger them profusely. Alright, come at me. Come on, come on, you can do it. There we go. That's enough. Thank you. And you can see the armor is damaged. Well, I'm going to use the repair function. And you'll see slowly, I took a few hits there, so there it goes, completely repaired. And in the top left corner there, it actually has grayed 1 out because it's permanently being used until I turn it off. So, or other things may stop it. And if you're not sure which ones you actually currently have running, now if you look, I actually have a little anvil in the bottom left there of the top left corner. And otherwise, if you go into your foci screen, you'll see 1 of these is pulsing. That means that it's currently active. So there are tons of these you can actually have running at a time, but you will have to temper your armor with the proper combination, excuse me, to make that work for you. So I'm going to be tempering my armor for a whole bunch of stuff so I can show off a couple basic spells, and then we'll draw this to a close. Alright, so you can see I've drained some of my souls in here. I ended up adding a few more immutable just so that I would have some. I re-infused myself with souls, and my helmet is currently very, very enchanted with soul. Well, it's been transfused with soul power. So I now have a very large quantity of things I can do. For instance, tendrils allows me to pick things up that are close by, just like that, as if I had a magnet on. And it actually is a visual thing, so let me throw that down. You can see the tendrils try and reach out and grab it. They also will grab experience as well, so it's pretty cool stuff. Alright, what else do we have here? We have... Let's turn that back off. We have an option to heal. So a focused creature is one that you are hitting repetitively. So if you're constantly hitting a creature, you will end up occasionally getting a heal that will recharge over a few seconds. You can clone yourself, which is pretty cool. Obviously you already saw incorporeal, animate tool, dodge, swarm, which that one's, you already saw that one earlier. It's going to come back and hit me. Animate spider, mirror image, all sorts of stuff in here. Increase your armor, pushing things, strength. There's just so much to go through on this, but I think we'll save that for another time. So until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if so, please give me a like, tell others about it, and we'll see you later.